All right. So, hello and welcome everyone. So, we are live again. Welcome back to this particular channel of Pradhan Academy. Right. I hope you are doing wonderful. So, I guess you had a wonderful session with the previous teacher on chemistry. Right. So, the chemistry class was fruitful to all of you. I hope that. Right. Now, that was basically, especially for the NEET examination, which is upcoming very soon. And this particular session is going to target for the upcoming JEE Advanced examination. So students who are preparing for the JEE Advanced and basically want to look out for the portion of maths, I think you are in the right platform, right? So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click on the bell icon to never miss out any upcoming notifications. All right, so let's get started on this particular session. And today our topic is going to be on the important session is basically on vector algebra, right? So previously, if you have been following this content so far, you will find that we have already discussed the 3D geometry in this particular platform, right? So 3D geometry, especially for JEE Advanced, has already been covered. I hope that session has helped you a lot in order to understand and clear your basics concepts regarding the 3D geometry. So today we are going to discuss one of the most important chapter, another very easy chapter, as well as it's a very high scoring chapter. So that is vector algebra, right? So if you have already covered or understood the 3D geometry, then vector algebra won't be a difficult job. Rather, students basically start vector algebra first and then they move to 3D geometry. I hope that is not a difficult issue for any one of you, right? All right. So shall we start the session then? Are we all ready to start? Okay, so before we start, some of the important guidelines before I want to make you understand that. Now I know that you have already cleared JEE Mains and you are basically here to watch the upcoming sessions, right? You want to revise especially for upcoming JEE Advanced, right? So this session is going to be very helpful for all students who is coming after quite a bit of revision, right? So before you start these sessions, I would request all of you to please quickly go through your NCERT as well as quickly skim through your NCERT exemplar problems. Okay, please quickly go through your NCERT exemplar problems. Okay. All right. So once you're done with this, and I know that you have already done the short notes for your JEE Mains. So if you have done it, well and good. If you haven't done till now, then I would say if you are going to prepare for JEE Advanced, then it is very, very important to prepare short notes. Otherwise, in the examination, you're not going to have any idea on how to proceed. Maybe sometimes the formula might not click into your brain, right? So those all things can be tackled, can be cleared off by understanding or having a good grasp of over the or basically having a good hold over the short notes. Okay, so please make sure that you have prepared short notes and you revise the short notes basically before we start the today's topic on vector algebra, right? So with this particular part, we are almost ready to start with today's session on vector algebra, and we are going to discuss the JEE Advanced questions. Okay, so today our goal is to discuss the previous year question of JEE Advanced, especially of vector algebra. We are also going to understand how they are asking the MCQ and numerical type questions. So all those questions also, along with that, we are also going to see the integer type questions for JEE Advanced. We are also going to figure out that what is the paper pattern or what is the kind of strategy that you need to understand in order to do well in the upcoming JEE Advanced paper. Okay, so if you look at this very first question on our screen, we have with us is a very similar problem from the relatable concepts on vector algebra, right? So if you try to look at the problem, now before we start with any problem, first and foremost thing, please make sure that you are having a clear idea on the question understanding, right? Without understanding the question solution of the question become much difficult, and that happens a lot of time, especially for JEE Advanced. In JEE Mains, if you read the question statement or the last line of the question, you will actually get the understanding what the question is asking, right? But in JEE Advanced, the thing is very complicated, kind of complicated in terms that the question is not very straightforward or directly asked up, right? So if you look at this particular problem, you cannot directly figure out that what is the question is trying to ask. Okay, what is the examiner is trying to convey through his particular question, right? So let us try to understand what the question is. It is said that there is a p vector which is given as follows and the q vector is given as follows, right? So we have the p vector which is given as 2I cap plus j cap minus 3k cap, and our q vector is given as I cap minus j cap plus some k cap, right? That is what is given in the question. Now it is said that for some real values of alpha, beta and gamma, so it is said that for some alpha, beta and gamma which belongs to the real number r, there exists a particular vector which is given as 15I cap plus 10 times of j cap plus 6 times of k cap is basically given as alpha times of 2p vector plus q vector plus beta times of p vector, beta times of p vector minus 2q vector plus gamma times of p vector cross q vector, right? That is what is mentioned in the problem over here, right? Now if you try to understand, it is basically a problem where you have to express a particular vector in terms of another three kinds of vectors, right? So first and foremost thing what you have to understood and go through is basically try to calculate all these terms, right? So if you just calculate all these terms, then the question becomes much simpler. First of all, let us try to calculate all these following terms, right? So if you try to perform these following terms over here, if you try to perform 2p vector plus q vector, you will find out that this is basically turning out to be, so 2p vector plus q vector is turning out to be kind of, so this is very interesting to discuss that. Now without even doing for this particular part over here, what is more interesting to find out is that now interesting way can also be found out as follows. Like, what if you take a dot product with p cross q? What if I take this entire vector equation and I take dot with p vector cross q vector? If I take a dot product with p cross q, then what I'm going to get? So if I take a dot with this particular vector with this p cross q, so it's kind of becoming like a scalar dual product, right? I hope this part is clear, right? Now, the interesting part is that the why did I do or dot product with p cross q is that now if I take a dot product with p cross q, then this particular term is going to be 0. Similarly, this particular term will also go to be 0 because p vector and q vector are perpendicular to the p cross q vector, right? So these two terms will go to 0, p cross q mod of whole square, right? I'll simply have this particular relation as p cross q mod whole square. I hope this is making sense to all of you, right? Now if you perform this particular operation, so if you know that there is a very interesting operation over here that I want to specify is that now if you do the p cross q and if there is have to square of that, it is basically so p cross q whole square, plus p vector dot q vector whole square of it is basically equals to p square into q square, or mod of p square into mod of q square, right? It is very simple relation. You can always try to derive this relation, right? It's a very important crucial relation. I hope you know it. So from this relation, from this particular relation, if I apply it over here, then this particular part is basically the scalar derivative product of it, right? Scalar derivative of p q and this particular vector, let us call this as r vector, okay? So p q r scalar derivative product of it is equal to gamma times of now this is going to become equal to p vector square or mod of p square and mod of q square minus p vector dot q vector whole square of it, and that is what will actually help me to generate the value of alpha. Now, looking at the problem, you must be figure out that you have to calculate alpha, beta and gamma separately, but in spite of doing all those effort or all those hard work, you can easily get the gamma by just doing one particular step, that is dot product with p cross q vector. Just by doing a one particular small step, that is p cross q, you take a dot with p cross q. The interesting part is that this alpha and the beta dependency will vanish out because it is ultimately going to be equal to 0. I hope this is making easy. So therefore, if you carry out this operation over here, so I'm doing the cross product over, so I'm doing the scalar product over here. So the result is very simple, right? Which is equal to gamma times of, and this is basically going to be equal to 26. You can check it out. So this particular thing is going to be equal to 26. Okay. So that is going to be gamma, and gamma is basically going to be equal to. So and this determinant is going to simplify out as. So you can just try to simplify this particular determinant, and this is going to come out as 52 and divided by 26. Okay, so therefore your correct answer is going to be equal to 2. So therefore, this is how you can easily solve the question and get to the answer very straightforward, right? The main idea was to understand this particular step. Okay, the main idea was to understand this particular step, because if I do the dot product with p cross q vector, then the answer or the beta and alpha dependency is going to vanish out very quickly. So ultimately your answer is going to be equal to, so the value of beta, or sorry, gamma, that is going to be equal to, which is the numerical or integer type question that was asked in the paper, right? So I hope you all are getting the same answer as 2. Please let me know if you are getting the same answer or not. Hello Keshav. JEE mains ka result, it will be notified. Okay, it will come in like mid of April. Okay, mid or last week of April, kind of, I guess mid of April most probably. Okay, very soon it will definitely going to be released. Okay, don't worry on that part. But if you think that you have done well from your first attempt, then definitely it is worth giving a try for JEE Advance. Okay, is this clear, Keshav? I hope this is clear to all of you. If you still have any questions, you can always let the question know. Okay, please don't keep the question in your mind. Okay, if you have any slight of an issue, you can always ask the question. Okay, you can always put the question in the live chat, or even if you're watching the session after the live class is over, you can always put the question in the comment section. I'll be going through your comment section and I will love to answer your questions. Okay, and if you want to get personalized doubt clearance and want to get one-to-one mentorship in any of your upcoming syllabus preparations, or if you want to get preparation specific for a particular exam like bit set examination, like or the upcoming WBJEE examination, you want to get some mentorship on how to excel in that particular exam, you can always contact the number that is given in the description box. Okay, so you can contact my team from the number given in the description box. Please find the number attached in the description box. Okay, so if you feel this channels is helping you out, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and always you can share these particular videos along with your friends so that your friends can also join up for these particular sessions and we can have a wonderful class all together, right? So I hope you will understand that and you will keep working on this particular part. All right, so with this part, let's try to move to the next problem, because this problem is a very simple problem. We tried to get to the value of gamma from the simple result. What I did is basically taking a dot product with p cross q vector, right? So that was a simple idea. So whenever you encounter any questions or vector equations or vector algebra equations, and you have to find the values of the unknown constants, then it is very easy in case if you want to take a dot product with another vector such that the result is basically becoming equal to 0. Okay, that will simplify your problem a very simple way, right? So I hope this is making sense, and let's move to the next problem. So the next problem is again a very interesting problem. If you look at the problem over here, it is saying that there are certain vectors given, and these three vectors are basically given in terms of the position vector, because O denotes the origin over here, right? So please go through the problem first of all. Please try to go through the problem first of all. Okay, so please give it a read and try to understand what the question is trying to convey, right? So there are three positions on the Cartesian plane, and the position vector of these vectors are basically given as follows, right? And it is said that alpha beta belongs to the real number except 0, and O denotes the origin over here. Then it is said that if we perform the operation or the scalar integral product of OP vector cross OQ vector dot with OR vector, that is basically nothing but scalar integral product of OP vector, OQ vector and OR vector over here, right? So that is basically given as 0. So that basically means that all these three vectors are coplanar vectors, right? So from this result, you get to understand that these three vectors are basically coplanar vectors, right? So once you get this particular information that these three vectors are coplanar vectors, now your job is much simpler, that all of these vectors are basically lying on a one particular plane. Okay, so let us say there are 3 points on a particular plane. Let us call this P, Q and R. Okay, and it is said that origin are also lying in the same plane, because they are connected with they are the position vectors, and position vectors are basically given on the same plane. All right, so let us say origin is also over here, so all these three vectors are basically on the same plane. Okay, now it is said that and a point alpha comma beta comma 2 lie on the plane that is given as 3x plus 3y minus z plus some L is equal to 0, right? So it is basically mentioned in the problem as a statement over here, right? Now let us say that we have to basically find out the value of this unknown constant L, right? So if you look at the problem, the way the problem is framed is very interesting to look. Okay, so from these particular three vectors, we have to basically first of all try to get the idea that how we basically get to this particular idea of alpha, beta and gamma, alpha, beta over here, right? Because if this particular point is lying on the plane, then it must satisfy this equation. So from this you will get 3 alpha plus 3 beta minus 2 plus L is equal to 0, right? So from here you get one equation in terms like this, that is 3 times of alpha plus beta is equal to 2 minus of L, right? And you don't know what is L and you don't know what is alpha and beta over here, right? But how will you know alpha and beta? Because you have already given the information that they are coplanar. So let us take the scalar integral product. Okay, so let us take the scalar integral product and try to understand from there, right? So if we try to do that scalar integral product over here and try to find the value of alpha and beta, we'll get the result as follows. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to perform the scalar product over here, right? So over here it is alpha minus 1 by alpha 1 and 1, 1, beta minus 1 divided by beta 1, and over here you will have 1, 1 and 1 by 2, right? This is what you will have, and that is basically equal to 0. This is basically equal to 0, right? Now, once we evaluate this particular determinant over here, so I just do this determinant evaluation over here. So it is alpha minus 1 by alpha 1, 1, 1, beta minus 1 by beta 1 and 1, 1 minus of 1 by 2 or plus of 1 by 2, and that is equal to 0, right? So let us try to evaluate what is the information over here. So if you just try to simplify the determinant over here, I'll get the value of alpha plus beta plus 1 is equal to 0. From here I will get one relation in alpha plus beta is equal to minus of 1, right? So from here I will get a relation that is alpha plus beta is equal to minus of 1. So if I get this relation, then from this it is basically simplified as minus of 3 is equal to 2 minus of L. So from here I easily get the value of L as equal to 5. I hope this is clear, right? So it is a straightforward simple problem. Now you must be understanding that this is not even a problem of JEE Advanced, right? But still it is a JEE Advanced previous year problem. Now you can understand that the questions are much simpler. Sometimes they just ask you directly do the calculations. Okay, so I hope this is making sense to all of you. Okay, I hope this is clear to all of you, right? All right, so I hope this is making sense. Okay, so please let me know if you have any doubts till now. So this is a very simple straightforward problem. If you just follow the steps carefully and if you perform the determinant operation over here and equal to 0, you'll easily get the value of alpha plus beta, right? So in spite of calculation of our finding out the alpha beta separately, we got the result very quickly, right? So from there I'm able to get the value of the L, or that is the unknown constant, right? That is what was asked in the problem. I hope this is making sense to all of you. I hope this is making sense to all of you. Please let me know if you have any questions. Please do let me know if you have any questions so far. Is this part clear to all of you? Is this part clear to all of you? Please let me know. I hope you are able to understand this part, and this is very simple problem. So you must also get the simple answer as equal to 5. So I think all of you must have got the answer as 5. Alright, so this is clear. Let's move to the next problem. The next problem is a very interesting problem. So if you look at the problem, the way the problem was asked was really worth appreciating. Okay. So if you look at the problem, first and foremost thing is that it is said that there is a plane which is defined by the following equation, that is a plane P is given as root 3x plus 2y plus 3 times of z is equal to 16. Right. Now it is said that let set S denotes a particular relation, that is alpha square plus beta square plus gamma square equals to 1, and the distance of alpha beta gamma from the plane is a constant distance. Right. So it is said that we have to find so set S denotes the set of alpha is a set of a vector, or a vector which is given as alpha I cap plus beta j cap plus gamma k cap, right? Plus gamma k cap, such that your alpha square plus beta square plus gamma square is equal to 1, and distance of alpha beta gamma from plane P is basically given as 7 by 2, right? So that is what is mentioned in the problem over here. So that is what is mentioned in the problem over here. Now let us try to understand how we try to get the problem from this particular part onwards, right? So let us try to figure out that what is the next part of the question is talking about. It is said that U, V and W are the three distinct vectors in the set S. U, V, W denotes the set of vectors which are having different values of alpha, beta and gamma, such that the distance of U to V and V to W and W to U are all the same. Okay, W to U are all the same, right? it is said that in such a way it is constructed that let V be the volume of the parallelepiped or parallelepiped that is determined by the vectors whose coterminous edges are given as U vector, V vector and W vector. Then you have to find the value of 80 by root 3 times of V vector or V, right? Sorry, V vector. It's not V vector, it is a volume V, right? So how we try to proceed for the question from here, right? Now the interesting challenge of looking at the problem over here is that it's a very nice question, nicely framed question. It said that now U, V, W are the elements of the set S, right, such that the distance of alpha, beta, gamma from the plane P is given as 7/2, which is a constant distance. So let us try to evaluate how we get this constant distance, right? If you look at this particular equation over here, alpha square plus gamma, beta square plus gamma square is equal to 1, it is nothing but an equation of a sphere of radius 1. So it is a sphere equation. It is a sphere equation of radius 1 units, right? It is a sphere equation of radius 1 units, right? So if you look at this particular equation, it is just nothing but a sphere equation of radius 1 unit. It is a sphere equation of radius equal to 1 unit, right? Now if it is a sphere, okay. If you try to understand the question from this particular language, this is basically meaning the distance, right? This is basically talking about the distance between two vectors, right? U vector minus V vector mod of that basically talks about the distance, right? So what is basically talking about here is that now we can system or we can form a particular set of three vectors U, V and W such that they are equally inclined and the vertices of the equilateral triangle. They are basically determined in such a way that they are basically lying on the sphere in such a way that they are the vertices of an equilateral triangle, right? In this way. Okay, now if this is possible and it is basically lying on a circle which is the intersection of the plane with the intersection of the sphere, that is with a radius of 1 unit, right? So if I try to calculate the distance of origin from this point P or the plane P, so if I try to calculate what is the distance of the origin from P, distance of origin from the plane P, if I try to calculate that this particular distance will come out as 4 units. This particular distance of the origin from the plane P will come out as 4 units, right? Now the plane containing U, V and W are at a particular distance. That is also very interesting to find it out that they are basically having the same distance, right? So it is very easy to find out in sense that if a plane, so it is basically very easily find out as, so it is saying that from the origin the plane distance is basically 4 unit and from alpha, beta and gamma such a way that this particular distance is basically 7/2 units, right? So if I need to find what is the distance between the origin and the alpha, beta, gamma, then this particular distance will basically be equal to, now this is a perpendicular distance, so this particular distance will basically come out as 4 minus 7/2, and that is basically equal to 1/2, right? So what you understand from here that the plane containing, so if I have a plane which is given the P plane and the plane which is containing this particular vectors alpha I cap plus beta j cap plus gamma k cap, this particular vector which is this particular plane which is containing this alpha, beta and gamma things are basically with a distance of half from the origin, and this particular vector the plane P is basically a distance of 4 from the origin, right? So what is basically more crucial to understand that these two planes are just parallel planes. What is more interesting to understand that these are parallel planes. So therefore, if I need to find the equation of this particular plane, I can easily do that. So the plane which contains this alpha, beta and gamma thing. Okay, now this particular plane equation will be simply given out as root 3x plus 2y plus 3 times of z is equals to some distance, that is basically gamma, and that gamma is basically some distance, okay, and that will come out as, so if you just try to find out the distance over here, it will come out, the constant will come out as 2, okay, because the distance from the origin is basically half, right? So you just calculate, it will come out as 2. So therefore what you find out that this is the equation of the plane which contains this vector alpha, beta and gamma correspondingly, right? So therefore, and also this is the vector, and also what you understand from here is that now this U vector, V vector and W vector are the basically the vectors, or are the or what should I say, it's basically like the origin of the vectors or the position of the vectors I should not give the vectors over here. It should be the vertices of the vectors. Okay, the vertices of this triangle. And what is this triangle? The triangle is an equilateral triangle, which is basically made by the cross section or the cutting of the plane with this sphere, or the radius of a sphere is basically given as 1 unit. So if I try to find out the equation of the sphere, that is basically very simple. It is basically x square plus y square plus z square is equal to 1, which is the equation of sphere, and the equation of plane is also found out. So from that, what I can interestingly do out is that now the sphere is kind of this. Okay, now try to understand, this is very in a three-dimensional geometry. Okay, it's a three-dimensional geometry, so try to visualize the things. Okay, so this is the origin. Let us consider this is the origin. Okay, I'm trying my best to explain in a 2D plane. So this is the origin, and it is said that the plane which I'm talking about is basically having certain distance. Okay, so this particular plane which I'm talking about, so maybe the plane is something like this. Okay, let us is this particular plane. So because the perpendicular plane is basically half, and this particular distance is basically 1, so I can easily find out what is this particular distance of r over here, because that particular r will denote that particular r will denote one of the half of the length of the equilateral triangle, right? So what I'm trying to do over here is that if a circle over here, and this is the equilateral triangle, and the vertices of the equilateral triangle are given by the position vector u, v, and w. Okay, that is what the question is trying to convey, right? So if you look at over here this r, and if I try to calculate first of all this r over here from this right angle triangle formula, so r will come out as root under 3 by 2 by just using the Pythagoras theorem over here. Now once we get the value of r from here, then the value of so if I get the r over here, this r represent nothing but this particular thing over here, that is basically going to convey. So if I try to find this is basically the distance r which I'm trying to find it out, and this is the, so if you look at from the top, this is going to be the origin kind of thing. So, or what should I say, the projection of the origin onto this plane. Okay, so o dash, let us put this o dash. Okay, so and this particular angle is 30 degree, because total angle is 60 and the half of that is 30 degree, because it is a right equilateral triangle. So from here this particular distance is going to be equal to 9 by 2, and therefore if it is 9 by 2, then the length of the side is going to be equal to 9. That basically means that the distance between the two sides is basically 9. That means u vector minus v vector mod of it is basically equal to 9 units. Right, now from this particular information, if I need to find out what is the area of the parallelepiped, then that can be simply found out as by taking out the area of the base. The area of the base is basically 2 times the area of this triangle. So if I try to find out the area of the triangle, it is basically equal to, so if you can find out very easily, it is basically root 3 by 4, 2 times of a square. So from that formula, it is 9 root 3 by 16, right? So now 2 times of this is going to give me the area of the parallelogram, or the base of the parallelogram, that is basically going to be equal to 9 root 3 by 8. And once I have the area of the base of the parallelogram, I just have to multiply with the height in order to get to the volume of the parallelepiped. So if you try to understand what is the height is very simple. It is basically equal to half, right? Because that parallelepiped which is basically being found from this over here is basically having a height from the origin is half, right? So kind of this particular thing. Okay, I hope the diagram is making sense to you. So therefore, the ultimate volume, that is capital V, is going to come out as 9 root 3 by 8 into half of it, which is basically going to be equal to, again, 9 root 3 by 16. 9 root 3 by 16 cubic units. That is going to be the volume. And ultimately, the question is asking you to find out 80 times of V by root 3, and that is going to calculate and solve out as equal to 45. I hope this question is making sense to all of you, right? This question was quite a bit of tricky question, because unless and until you will have a lot of good idea on the three-dimensional geometry, this question might seem very difficult at the first go. But I would say please give it a try. Please try to understand what the question is trying to convey. Now I try to solve this question in a much simpler way. You can always try to do the question in a bigger way, right? What is the bigger way? The volume of the parallelepiped is basically given as the scalar product over here, which is basically u, v, w, box plot of it, right? And in order to find the box of it, what you can do is that, I'm trying to go to the next page over here. What you can do over here is that, I hope you know this formula, that the property over here, that is, if you square it and you take the this particular result is basically u dot v, u dot w, this is basically v dot u, this is v dot v, right? And this is v dot w, and this is basically w dot u, this is w dot v, and this is w dot w. So if you know these results, then from here also you can find out the volume of the parallelepiped, right? Now how will you know this result? This result is always known to you once you get the value of this u minus v vector, right? How will you find the u minus v vector? If you take the square on both the sides, right? If you take square on both the side, like this particular result, and if you just simplify out, you will see that the u vector mod of u vector is going to cancel out. And if you look at the entire equation, you will get three set of equation. If you just sum it up, you are going to simplify the relation much simpler, right? So from that relation, you are going to simplify the results, and you can calculate the result directly, right? So for with that particular formula also over here, you can always get to the results of this particular problem, right? So I leave this question up to you in how you are try to understand this problem from here. Okay, so I hope this is making sense to all of you. I hope this question is making sense to all of you. Please do let me know if you have any questions over here. Okay, please do let me know if you have any questions. Okay, I will try to repeat and try to explain my best. Okay, so please go through the problem first and foremost again. Okay, if you still have any question, please ask me. Please try to solve this question first of all in your way. Okay, try to solve this question in your way, and if you still not get it, the solution I can help you out, right? How to visualize the problem in a 3D geometry. Okay, please try to go through the problem again. Please try to go through the problem again. Please do let me know if you have any questions so far. Is this part clear to all of you? So I'm going to a live chat. Please let me know if you have any questions. If you still have any questions, you can let me know. Okay. And if you think that this content is helpful to all of you, then please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also click the like button to make sure that you are small kind of an effort that I'm asking. Like, okay, so you can always like the video if you feel this videos is helpful to all of you, and you can always share these videos among your friends, your relatives, and with all of you whom you want to share this particular knowledge. Okay, and if you know someone who is preparing for JEE Advanced and is in need of this particular lectures, because these lectures are just for free on YouTube, right? So you just have to tune into the YouTube and just subscribe to the channel in order to get to these videos, right? So there's a very simple step that you need to follow to get to these sessions. Okay, and we are taking the live sessions just to make sure that you have any questions, you can ask me directly. Okay, so with this part, let's move to the next problem from here. So the next problem is again a very interesting problem, which is kind of the same expression, right? So for solving this problem also, I'm going to use this particular result. Okay, so for solving this problem, I'm just going to use this property over here. How I'm going to use it? It's very simple. You can find it out very simple way, right? First of all, it is said that the volume of the parallelepiped, which is basically given by the vectors UVW, is basically given as √2. Now, if I take the square on both the sides, is basically equal to, and this particular result is basically equal to u dot v. Okay, u dot w. This is basically v dot u, v dot v, and this v dot w. This is basically w dot u, w dot v, and w dot w. Okay, and that particular determinant is equal to 2. Right. Now from here, some things are very simply given. That is said that u vector and v vector are basically given as unit vector and unit vector. So therefore, this vector result is equal to 1, and this particular result is also 1. And it is also said that u dot w is equal to 1. So u dot w is also equal to 1, and v dot w. So v dot w and this result also equal to 1. This result also is 1, right? So once you get simplify these results are very simple to get out, right? And also said that w dot w is equal to 4. So these all results are given, right? So from these all results, what you have to find out is that u dot v. What you have to find out is u dot v. So from this, if you solve for u dot v, you will get the result as, so from there, if you try to solve for u dot v, the result is very simple. So from this particular part, if you solve for u dot v, you are going to get the result as half. So u dot v is going to come out as half. Now since u and v are given as unit vector, so the result from here is that you can also find the angle also, right? But I'm not interested about that. What I have to find out is that 3 times of u vector plus 5 times of v vector mod of that is equals to how much? So that is basically square root of 9u squared plus 25v squared plus, and it's going to be 30 times of u dot v over here, and that is what your result is going to look like. So we just calculate the result is going to come out as square root of 49, which is basically equal to 7 units. So ultimately the answer to this particular problem is going to be equal to 7 units, right? So what you can understand is that this particular result is a very important and crucial property. So once you know this particular property, that question is very simple in one step. So if you have to remember these particular properties, all the properties that you have studied so far in the chapter are very important, especially for JEE Advanced. So please make sure that you keep a note on all the properties, and you make sure that you revise all the properties before you are going for your actual examinations. Okay, I hope this is clear to all of you. I hope this problem is clear to all of you. Please let me know. Please do let me know if you still have any confusion. If you still have any confusion, please let me know. Alright, so I'm expecting this question is clear to all of you. So with this part, I come to the very end of this particular session on discussing about the most important questions on vector algebra, especially for JEE Advanced. Okay. Now there are certain questions that I'm leaving up in the homework for all of you students. You can always get access to these particular questions by joining the Telegram channel. And if you want to take a screenshot, you can take it. So you can take the screenshot over here. So please take a screenshot. And this is also the second homework problem. Okay. Do take a screenshot, and after solving the question, please let me know the answer you're getting in the comment section itself. Okay. You can always ask the questions in the comment section. If you want to get personalized content, you can always contact my team on the given underscore number. Okay. So with this, I would like to end the session over here. Thank you for your attention and all the best.